Today, no checkpoint this week, but that doesn't mean there's no news. This is ChillPoint. Well, we lost Beige, but that's okay.
Sometimes it happens in the intro.
Yeah. Sometimes. How's it going, everybody? Welcome to ChillPoint, where I'm just going to close my blinds a little bit so that my lighting is more even. I had my window open until about 10 seconds before we went online to try to keep the coolness happening.
It's like 16 degrees out. It's
nice and overcast today.
The perfect time to
Not like
chill out
yesterday.
your house. Yeah.
And the day before that, the sauna outside.
I think, yeah, my building is like a heavy concrete building, which is great because it like stays, maintains its temperature. But if there's like a couple days of really warm weather, then it kind of warms up. And so it maintains a higher temperature than outside at the moment. And now I'm realizing this hot tea was probably not the greatest plan. But you know what? That's where we are right now.
Yeah.
Oh, I did the same thing.
It's hot.
It's like, it's hot out, but whatever, hot tea.
Yeah, this hot tea with chili oil. Why did I make this?
Yes.
Why would you ruin your tea like that?
All right. So, as mentioned in the intro, there is no checkpoint. There was no checkpoint this week due to the pre-release and Graham being sick and very, very, very much all sorts of busyness happening. Plus, the things are going to be heating up in the next couple weeks with E3 and the PC gaming show. So we figured it
Yeah, now that you know the real reason, the actual reason is because ChillPoint don't need no checkpoint anymore.
Yeah.
We're
breaking away.
We are breaking off, and we're better off without it.
Yeah.
Bold words.
Maybe if Graham's better, he can just stop with CheckPoint and deal with ChillPoint, be on the real show.
So normally this would be the show where we talk about all the things that give you more background info on the stuff that happened and we talked about on CheckPoint, but that's not happening. But we still have a lot of things to talk about because I still was marking stories and stuff, assuming that a checkpoint would happen, even assuming that a checkpoint didn't happen. I've been like marking and like looking at video game stories weekly for maybe 10 years, probably longer than that if we take ENN into account. Like it's kind of a habit now that sometimes, like if we're for whatever reason we're taking checkpoint off, I'll like start looking at stories for a while before I realize it's like, wait, no, I don't have to do this week.
Yeah, this week is not that. Does not have to have this done.
How are you holding up, Paul? That's a lot of news to take over a lifetime that isn't always necessarily the nicest stuff to read.
The weird thing with it's fun to because you get to see the like cycles of news and stuff, or certain things that like, or there'll be like a thing like a game or whatever that it's like, oh yeah, that game. Didn't we do a story about that coming out imminently on like ENN? What happened to that? Like you see the game like as it's gone through the different like generations and stuff.
Yeah, I mean that Final Fantasy VII one. That one I know got reported on several times in a row.
In fact, there was an early checkpoint where we did a story about us reporting on that was about Metal Gear Solid. That was about sorry, we did a story about when Hideo Kojima said there wouldn't be any more Metal Gear Solids. That he was, and he had done that like 3 times at that point, and so we did a story about like going back through the different versions of Checkpoint to like when it was black and white on like the radio, talking about when all the different times Kojima has quit. Anyway, that was unrelated to stuff that we're going to be talking about this week, which is video game news. Starting with there's a new RTX NVIDIA RTX card coming out, the RTX 3080 Ti. Is burly, to say the least.
I'm surprised they're able to make new ones when apparently old ones can never happen.
So this is the question.
Is this actually real?
This is interesting because, we weren't sure whether we'd be able to do this episode of CheckPoint or not. And so Beej wrote a bunch of came up with a bunch of ideas and sort of wrote a bunch of stuff in the anticipation that maybe we would need it. And what I like about this is that your take on this was the ridiculous $1,200 MSRP for this graphics card.
Yeah.
Which
I'm afraid not outside the realm of what graphics cards cost these days.
Yeah, I'm sorry to say, sweet console gaming child.
Yeah.
$1,200 for top end graphics cards is not actually that bad.
Except that I still think it's still a ridiculous thing in a way, because it's like, also the 3080 Ti is almost as good as the 3090 is what I got from the Ars Technica article, and I'm like, okay, so this card's not the top of the heap. It is a better version of the 3080 they had before, but it is still not as good as the 3090, and yet it is still going to cost you $1,200. And I'm like, if you're the kind of person that has $1,200 to spend on a graphics card, are you the kind of person who has $1,400 to spend on the actual best graphics card to get in the first place?
Well, I mean, if you find it.
Yeah, this is
there's that.
To me, part of the reason why I marked this story is, like Heather was saying, is that literally it's like effectively impossible to buy the current RTX 3000 series cards. Like, I haven't seen them available anywhere other than at massive markup in resellers for months. And so the idea of them coming out with a new one seems odd, because it's like, okay, this hypothetical card that I can't get is now a slightly different hypothetical card that I can't get. It's like,
and it's not any better than the best one that they could be making, and it's also, therefore, it still beat the competition, which is the other question too. Is it any better than what AMD's putting out? I don't have an answer to that because I don't actually care. So it's
as far as I know, yes. I think
yeah.
As far as I know, now that might have changed in the last year or so, but as far as I know, NVIDIA is still definitely the top of the heap. Like I don't think AMD is even really competing at that high end graphics card level.
Yeah, they're kind of looking at, our cards are going to cost $800, and they're going to compete in the probably the largest segment of people that want to buy them, and the little segment at the top is like, this is where the RTX 3080 Ti, the 3090, that's where those cards live. It's like, yes, they're better, yes, they're the best of the bunch, but they're also going to set you back a lot of money if you need to trick out your Ethereum rig.
Yeah, in this like, you wrote some notes for this story because this didn't develop into a
I
full
took
story.
one idea and tried to develop it.
Yeah, but it's telling about you as a person.
It is.
Because it's like,
it absolutely is.
It's like, okay, what if we mentioned the different things that cost about this much money, essentially, was your game.
I was just going to write it as a press release, but every time that I mentioned the card, I was also going to mention that it costs $1,200 US or 1 month's rent.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I'm like, so we have an idea of what rent has been for you in the past,
roughly,
for both of us. You wrote 5 months of groceries, so like, okay, now you just gave away.
I was going to go with
how much...
4 months, and I was like, you know what? It's probably more on average for most people 5 months of groceries. So
half of a more expensive graphics card, which is just like, yeah, okay, I can see Peach thinking about that one.
Yep.
the MacBook Air.
The new M1 MacBook Air.
And I'm like, yeah, of course, because we've just been paying attention. And then something Norwegian, to be sure.
It had to be. We had to have something in there.
Maybe stamps.
Well, I went to Poston.no and I was like, there's a whole collection of stamps. And I can figure out maybe how many stamps you have to buy to spend $1,200 US. And then I saw like stamp collections. I'm like, oh, maybe you have to buy like the stamp yearbook. And it was like, it starts to get more complicated then.
How much would it cost to buy one of these graphics cards in Norway and then ship it to yourself?
Yeah.
With Norwegian stamps.
Might not still be as much as it costs to buy it on like the US market on eBay or whatever.
Yeah, I do want to point out for chat that $1,200 USD is what, $1,600 for us?
Yeah, it's about $1,500 to $1,600 US.
Yeah. So when we say that's about our version of rent, it's 16. It's a little cheaper than some of our rent's been for the last few years.
Yeah.
Last time I was looking around at graphics cards and stuff, it was substantially. I wouldn't say substantially cheaper, but it was about the same price and much more available to buy like a computer with a 3000 series graphics card in the computer. Chuck the computer and just take the graphic. Like that was what the markup was happening on the graphics cards. It was ridiculous.
And then I just decided maybe just a flight from Vancouver to Oslo would be the best solution. It's like if I need to if we're gonna fit Norway into this somehow, because it's all about money. So it's like I got to mention kroner or something. Maybe I can just talk about what's a flight from Oslo to Vancouver.
I enjoy that you wrote maybe stamps because I'm like, yeah, you're looking for something that sounds comedic or even if you could only find a bunch of 50-cent stamps.
Yeah.
Like you would say it would make you be able to say a ridiculous sounding number.
Exactly. Yeah. So I guess it's a good card. The 3070 Ti has also come out as well. And that performs better than the 3070, but not as good as the 3080 probably.
Yeah, the gradations get pretty fine at a certain point where like the difference between a 3070 Ti and a 3080 is like, and of course this is also the weird thing with graphics cards is that there's like what's called the base model or the like factory model, but each manufacturer makes their own version of that graphics card, which can have changes to it. Different cooling. They can overclock them. They can do all sorts of weird stuff to them. So
they call this the reference, right?
The reference one.
Yeah.
I was gonna say factory model sounds weird. I would assume all graphics cards are made in factories.
Well, yes.
All right. Let's. Moving on. This is just sometimes I mark stuff about games that I just think look interesting. There's a game called Terror Bane that's coming out. Emphasis on the error part of Terror Bane, because it is ostensibly a JRPG, but it's a JRPG in which you're basically in combat, or the main antagonist is the developer of the RPG, who believes that he has created a perfect video game and it is actually entirely filled with bugs. I don't really know how it will manifest itself in the game. Like there's a trailer that looks really neat. There's like, glitches happening and like things like falling off the screen, characters being like, my feet are wet because I'm walking through these rivers all the time, like this, walking over this piece of water all the time.
Right.
So, do we just gather a bunch of error codes and shove it in the dev's face? Is that how you win?
Well, and then you like have to, you can like report the errors and stuff, and the developer messes with you and stuff. So. It seems cool. I like the idea of it. It reminds me, there was a game that I played actually on stream called the Magic Circle, I think, Mystic Circle, something like that, which was a game where you the idea is that it's a game that isn't finished, and you have to, and you can actually go in and like reprogram stuff in the game. So there'll be like a platform that's not moving the way it's supposed to, and so you have to like go in and fix it.
I look forward to Terrorbane's bug fixes and updates.
Right, yeah, that's the interesting thing about a game like this. Like, what if you don't encounter a bug that you're supposed to encounter? Does then that it's a bug fix to create a bug?
and is that point when you realize that, do you try and just incorporate it into the game so that it makes sense? Or,
right, yeah, they get away with a lot. Be like, oh, your game crashed. Oh, that's part of the gameplay. Yeah, that's how.
Can you activate the game breaking bug? That's just an alternate ending. That's not a real bug. That's the game bug.
That's emergent gameplay.
It's part of the game.
Yeah, it's just what it's all about. Let's just skip this next one until if Beach comes back.
Oh yeah, because
speaking of games that I thought looked kind of silly, there's a game called Overboard.
I'm seeing this one pop up a lot lately.
Exclamation point. Which is it's a visual novel that's coming out. It's a detective game. Where you're on a ship in the 1930s and trying to solve the murder of your husband. The twist is that you killed him. and so what you're actually trying to do...
That?
Yes.
Or is this like you forgot?
No, you know that. So what you're trying to do is solve the murder such that somebody else gets blamed.
Clue.
Yeah, it seems like kind of a neat idea.
You know what? If you're going to be a detective and you did the murder, easy solve.
But the hope is that you don't get blamed for it. I guess the idea.
Yeah, that's true.
The developers also made 80 Days and Heaven's Vault.
This is probably quite good then. I mean, I haven't played either of those games, but I've heard a lot of really good things about those two. So
it's coming out for iOS, Switch, and Windows. So
yeah, I beat you back just in time for us to bypass the murder your husband and cover it up sim.
Ah, cool.
Let's talk about the PlayStation website.
Yeah.
You want to take this, Beej?
Oh, okay. So my original take when I saw this was like, wait, so PlayStation is removing the ability to track like friends and parties and trophies and all sorts of other things like that. And then you go look at the actual, like when you're reading the article, it's like, well, what they mean by the PlayStation website is Sony My PlayStation, which sounds like it was a mechanism for you to view all your friends and the parties and trophies and your profile information and like account information, all that kind of stuff, through just a regular website, right? It's
right.
That's all it was for.
They're trying to push people into using the app on the console itself.
Yeah, and then I saw that and I got mad.
Do you want to read what you wrote?
Well, what I thought was funny is that it's this very Sony was taking the strict parent stance, right? It's like, you know what? No more parties for you, and your friends, you're never going to see them again, and all those trophies gone. And hand over your driver's license and your birth certificate, because when you get done being grounded, you're not even going to remember your own name anymore. and that was my initial take on like what they're doing is they're basically just stripping all this stuff out. But of course, when you see the story on we're driving people towards the app, and it sounded like there was a mobile app involved here as well.
Oh yeah, there's a PlayStation app.
Yeah, okay. So then it's
that's
like
how I do everything.
Yeah, and I'm like, that's the thing that really frustrated me, because I'm like, because you've heard Ian probably rant about the dangers of app culture, where
have I heard that particular one? I don't know.
Probably. His main point.
Websites, the things that were available on the web, but are now forcing you to install an app instead, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah, that sounds like something he would.
And it's that yeah. and it's frustrating because there's that idea of like I have to install the app and then I have to like if I want to view not safe for work content in Reddit, if somebody links to a Reddit page and I'm like, oh, I'll click on that and I'll see what it is, and I get there and it's like, oh well, this has been marked 18 plus or not safe for work, and you could either view it in the app or you can leave. It's not even like open this in a browser and do whatever. It's like, no, you can just leave because we want to have you log in to confirm you're 18 plus. I'm like, sure, but you won't even give me the option to like go to the thing and then try to log in through the web.
See?
They want you to do it the other way.
It's decently nice looking.
Heather's showing me the My PlayStation app.
Well, it's
on
just
the phone.
the PlayStation. It's the PS app.
And so my rant here was, and I'll just read it note for note. Why not? On a side note, I have an axe to grind here. If you're like me, and let's face it, all of you are me, you love apps. They have cute little icons, they remember you by your face, and they keep all that nasty web data in a comfy little space with all the right colors and no pesky address bar taking up space. But we should be worried when companies start locking up all of our experiences behind their custom apps, especially when the custom apps start requiring you to register an account or provide personal details just to scan a document from a fucking printer I already bought and paid for, HP. Why in God's holy kingdom do I have to log into your app just to scan a document, HP? It was working fine before. Why are you locking up print drivers on the Mac behind an App Store app? Especially when it turns out I can just use the generic Mac drivers to do everything just fine. Instead, I have to spend an hour remotely logged into my parents' computers just to uninstall the mess that you recommended. Mark my words, Internet, if this kind of shit continues, you'll all be troubleshooting your parents' PlayStations next.
That's based on a real story.
Yeah.
I've definitely been in the next room while you've been ITing your parents over the...
Yeah, and I mean, that was this... Well, and that stems from what happened to us at the office, the same thing. I was trying to print something on our HP Office Jet, and I was like, okay, so we did an upgrade recently, or the drivers are weird or whatever, and it's like, oh, well, in order to do this, you're going to have to install the HP Smart app off of the Mac App Store. And I'm like, no, I'm not. They're drivers. And this has been a thing that HP and a lot of other companies have been doing for years, where it's like, no, you don't install the driver. We need you to install all of the spyware that we so we can see everything that you're printing, so we can recommend here's the place you go online to buy our incredibly overpriced print cartridges and not actually go to like a place that sells them for cheap, and all of those kind of things. And they're like, well, now what we'll do is we'll just lock the whole experience behind an app that you have to get off the App Store, And so with my parents, I was like, well, like, Dad, I think we're going to have to just kind of bite the bullet and install this HP Smart app. And when we did, and I was like, okay, now we can print. And he's like, cool, let's try to scan something. And we go to scan, and it's like, please log in with your HP account. And I'm like, no, scan. Press the scan button. It's like, in order to scan wirelessly, maybe even over a USB, but in order to scan, you have to log in with your HP account. And I was like, no, we're tearing all this shit out, and we're gonna try it the generic way. And we did. We tore all of it out. We uninstalled every HP thing I could get off the thing. We tried the generic Mac drivers for printing, and then tried the generic Mac drivers for doing wireless scan, and they work fine. You do not need to install HP's horseshit software to make it work. And so this idea of the Sony My PlayStation thing, where it's like, we're gonna have you install this app. Hey, don't worry, it's free. And you're going to log in and manage all this. That's what really pissed me off, because I was like, that's not ever what kind of interface that, and I like that kind of thing. I have the Nintendo Switch app on my device. If I could use that to access my Nintendo, I probably would. And that's me making choices to have a way to log into an account that I control. But when it's like, you're then also carving off the open internet aspect of it. I don't like that at all.
I agree with you. I've never disagreed with you on this topic. It's
especially when half the apps these days are just HTML, or they're just like wrappers anyway. So it's like, it's already a website. It's just, you need to access the website in the app, as opposed to access the website on the proper internet. By the way, NVIDIA actually has a problem with that too. The NVIDIA Experience app is, I think you can get the drivers the other way. Maybe you still can get drivers the normal way, but that's like the way that they want you to get your update your.
That you have to download their application suite or something. Or
Yeah, and then you have to log in and do a whole thing, and it like scans your hard drive to look for all your games and is like, I can optimize your NVIDIA experience for these games.
And I like that. I like the sense where it's like we can see how we can add value to your experience. I'm like, I agree with companies trying to figure out ways to do stuff like that, but it always ends up being locked behind, please give us your personal information,
right?
Because we need all of that personal information. And I'm like, no, I don't think the way it used to work actually still works quite well. It has worked for many decades. And you're only doing this because you want to start making a goddamn mailing list, and you want to start you want to start like tailoring your advertising and shit to fit me. And I'm like,
yeah,
no, I can't be a party to a lot of that.
All right. So yeah, that's the thing that said. So if you do typically access your PlayStation info through the website, you may need to download the app though. Sorry.
Yeah.
And I guess you just can't access it from the like a desktop computer. Like I don't know how you actually. I don't know if there's a Windows app or something that does it.
I mean, there's websites that do scraping.
Also,
for trophies and stuff.
But then that's only a one-way thing anyway. And I imagine at some point they'll just kill that API.
Oh, probably.
Yeah.
I personally, when I saw this website or this article, I actually thought that they were planning to get rid of trophies altogether, which seemed really funny to me.
Yeah.
Also, if you are still using the PlayStation Vita messaging service, know that that's being cut off on June 28th. So if you have some friends that you only communicate with through Vita messaging, try to get their, I don't know, ICQ address.
Yeah, go to Me Plaza. Maybe Nintendo Me Plaza is still operating.
I'd be surprised if anyone was really using the messaging service anyway. That's how a lot of the bad things happen to you.
Yeah, get their AOL Instant Messenger.
It's actually how some of the hacks happen to like the PSTV for whitelisting games that they take out. Is you have to do some sort of weird thing with the mail server to that basically sets up a program that forces your PSTV to do the thing you want it to do. I'm pretty sure they updated that out though, so you have to do that on an older version.
There's a new F1 video game, F1 2021, which is like, I didn't realize that there was a game that's just called like F1. Like it seems like it seems like you couldn't like that game a name that you couldn't like trademark the name of your game if it's just F1.
Yeah, I mean, games used to be called just baseball.
Like it should be like Formula One Racing with a TM or something after it. But yeah,
or whatever, some name that is actually not just like the generic term for that kind of a car.
When do we get F5?
Yeah,
they actually do have Formula 2, I think, and also Formula 3.
But those are worse.
I was making a reload joke.
Yeah.
Which is 5 refresh.
But that'll mean they can eventually get down to like Formula 5, which is probably like kart racing.
Okay.
So obviously, Formula One racing is gotten a bump in popularity lately because of there's been a very popular Netflix series about Formula One racing. What's it called? The
Drive to Survive.
Yeah, Drive to Survive. Right. And so this new version, they haven't had I don't think there's been one since 2019. Oh no, there was one in 2020, but they've made a bunch of adjustments on this to make it even more realistic. Not only, what's interesting about this is, of course, they're always doing more realism yada yada yada. So it's like, you have all the different minute details.
That's a sports sim
of your
thing.
car.
Yeah.
But then they're also apparently doing a lot of stuff to add realism, like off the track in terms of like there's like a much more developed like storyline and stuff, which is something that a lot of the, like, as somebody who doesn't play these like sports games, this like emphasis on the storyline stuff has been, I feel like in the last couple of years, has been like a huge thing, which I guess it's a way to encourage people to buy the game when it's kind of the same year on year.
Yeah. Which in this case, I was surprised because the bit of the article I was reading, I read it in depth and then I just kind of skimmed to the end because I was trying to see if I could pick up on any of the other like off track stuff. Didn't see anything that kind of fit my narrative. But the idea of the person writing this being like, this one track in F1 2020 was always very simple for me. I could always like race through at like top speed on this one route. It's supposed to be a very challenging track, but for whatever reason, I could just always get through whatever. I do that now, and I just bite it every time. And so in conversation with the developer, they were like, "Yeah, we made some more changes to how this stuff should work. And now if you try to race the way that you've always raced on this one track, I think in Bahrain, it punishes you for trying to race the way you would in 2020 because the downforce isn't correct and you've been going too fast. And because what they've been doing is they've been altering the downforce of their arrow to be like, oh, well, I'll just have as little arrow as possible and I'll still have all the grip I need through the turns. It's like, yeah, no, we've made modifications to the Bahrain track so that now the arrow actually counts. It wasn't, I guess, doing that properly beforehand. It's like there's always reasons to be updating these things sometimes.
I believe the last time we talked about Formula One, we talked about how they wanted to make sure that they were relevant to the youths.
Yes.
And there's nothing more relevant to the gamer youths than more realism.
Yeah.
And management.
Like Rocket League, yes.
And I mean, we did talk about how there were some virtual race things that we talked about earlier or last year. Their various racing things did these like virtual races, which I would call like were mediumly successful. They're like, people enjoyed some of them, but then also there was some problems with the drivers not really like taking it seriously.
Or the cheating scandals.
Just straight up cheating.
By which I mean like either cheating or like smashing into each other's cars or like just like not driving as you would on an actual course.
But there was that one story we did about the guy who basically like kind of covered his camera or something and had somebody else drive for him.
Right. Yeah.
That was like the biggest scandalous thing we had. Everything else was like people hitting each other and being like, we're racing video games. That was just kind of funny.
Yeah.
Also, so one of the what I love is apparently in the story mode in this, they're expanding the role of Devon Butler, who's your rival.
Oh, okay. So you both have to try to catch as many Pokemon as possible. Okay.
Yeah,
It's a fantastic rival name.
Yeah, I can't imagine that name without like the like wacky races like guy with the big mustache.
I don't want to play the racing portion of this game. If they could make this into a visual novel, with Devon Butler being my rival, I could go for that. I don't want to play the racing portion though.
So yeah,
unless Mario Kart wants to add a big lengthy Devon Butler thing.
Something about like making a story mode and then building a character who will specifically be like an asshole to you.
Yeah.
In order for you to have somebody to hate.
That's what they have to do for Mario Kart 9 now. They have to add a management sim and a storyline and a special rival character.
I was gonna say, aren't there like, I mean, like
Wario
is like there, and Waluigi is there. Like that's sort
There's
of
not really a story mode though.
That's
Is
kind of
there?
what they're
there's no
supposed to
story
be.
mode.
No, there's no story mode.
Yeah.
That's surprising.
But they could add that. That could be their new thing.
That'd be really funny to have like a story mode in Mario Kart and have them like
They have it in like golf and tennis and stuff.
And in Smash Brothers they have a story mode. Game that is about beating the shit out of each other. They made story modes all the time.
Yeah, why isn't there a story mode in Mario Kart? There should be.
Yeah. Of all the games that don't have one, like Mario Kart really could have like a whole. And I love the idea of like Waluigi's the real hero according to Sark and Glue back together, and I'm just kind of like, I like the idea of that you start as like a rookie racer Waluigi or something.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
No, every character you play as has kind of a different storyline. Maybe they have a different rival.
Wow.
Yeah, but it's like you pick your character, and then the game is just like, okay, random spin. This is your rival.
Yeah.
Or just
and this is like.
I love the idea that there's this like, you know, there's like Mario and Wario and, you know, Luigi and Waluigi and Bowser and you know, Princess, like all the like main, you know, people.
Yeah.
But I just like the idea that like in the Mario universe, there's this like weird, deep rivalry between like Koopa Troopa and
Dry Bones.
Yeah, and like Dry Bones. It's like, or yeah, just
or
like
Baby Mario and something.
Koopa Troopa and Baby Mario. That like never is mentioned, but it's like, oh yeah, those two hate each other. Everyone knows that.
Oh no! You play as Baby Mario, and your rival turns out to be Yoshi.
Oh, that'd be funny.
Because of the whole Baby Mario thing. I could write so much for this. It'd be,
to be fair,
easy.
When I played Yoshi's Story, I did, you know, lose the baby a few times.
As far as story modes go,
I turned the sound off.
I was playing, I purchased Behold the Kickman because I was like, oh good, a soccer sim that has like nothing to do with soccer. And
Behold the Kickman.
It's difficult. It basically is. It's a soccer game that's written by somebody who doesn't know what soccer is. Is how these guys, they're like, we grew up in the UK, but we really don't follow soccer and we don't know how it works. But we figured that would be the best way to make a soccer game, is just to kind of come up with it based on what you learned by osmosis. And that meant that their story mode has all of the beats of all the weird soccer stories that you hear about. I guess, and all of like the soccer movies and sports movies and stuff, but it's all very kind of genericized. It's like, ooh, I hate that guy on that other team, and there he is, my rival from the other team, and he has a name, and he's the dude's always like incredibly evil, and it's really great because it just leans into it so heavily, and I'm like, yeah, it leans into it so hard that I almost think that these guys actually know a lot about soccer. But yeah, we need a Mario Kart story mode.
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah, career mode. Yeah.
Speaking of disastrous career modes, maybe? I don't know.
All right.
Choices, maybe.
Yeah. So we did a story about this many months ago of the Minecraft streamer named Dream, very, very famous, popular Minecraft streamer, who got into some controversy quite a while ago because he did a speed run of the getting to the end thing. And he did a bunch of runs, and the drop rates of some of the vital things that he was getting for those runs was higher than it should have been. To the extent that people the people did the analysis, and like the chances of him getting the drops that he did in the run that he did was some ridiculously high, more than the number of atoms in the universe kind of thing.
He should have been doing the run. He should have also been struck by lightning inside his own house.
Yes.
Yeah.
Might have made him go faster.
And he said no, it was totally legit. I don't know what happened, but it was totally legit, to the extent that he actually himself commissioned a second report that went through the data and analyzed the data and determined that it was actually okay. There were a lot of problems with the second report. It was generally considered to be very poorly done.
Gee, I wonder why.
It went there, it went back and forth. He maintained his innocence. It was considered to be, but the speedrunning community struck that record from the thing after much debate, and it became a big thing. Anyway, now 4 months, 4 or 5 months later, it was October. So more than that now, 8 months later, he has come clean, and he sort of, saying,
oh my goodness,
saying that yes, he had a mod that changed the drop rates of these items that he was using for fun. But he turned it off for the speedrun thing. But now he thinks that it's possible that he might have accidentally left it on, or it might have gotten turned on accidentally somehow in the course of the thing.
Which is really, I mean, and of course that's suspect because it's like, at the beginning, you make this world record, and you're like, oh, I did this amazing thing, it's awesome. People are like, well, hang on, that seems really far-fetched. Tell us about your setup, and then you should have, be honest about it, to be like, yeah, I played vanilla whatever. Yeah, okay, but what mods have you had installed before? Well, I have these mods. Are you sure they were off? Yeah, I turned them off. But are you sure you turned them off? Like, just
it's like the thing that happened. The thing that happened is exactly what would happen if the mod was on. So are you really sure it's off?
Because then at that point you can be like, now you have me wondering whether I did or not. Shit, let me go look. And you go look and you're like, oh, damn it. And just be mad about it, to be like, I thought I had this all turned off, and it turns out I didn't turn them off. And so and then admit it, like straight up there, be like, that record is no good. Don't count that. I messed up. Let's try it again.
But teacher, my eyes just happened to look at my classmates' page, and it had all the right answers on it.
Yeah.
It just happened to happen.
But the thing is, like, it's easier to climb down from it when you're in the midst of it.
Not when you've doubled down with a second report, and that's not done well.
Like, that never should have happened. Like, dude, the thing to do is you're like, okay, I screwed up. Then you should have admitted you screwed up back then. But to hang on to it for so long and then, like, months later be like, oh no, I might have accidentally had him on. It's like, nobody's gonna believe that, man.
I don't believe him at all. Like, he probably turned them all on purpose and did it. Like, even if to get away with it.
But even if it's true that that's what happened, it's like, no one's gonna believe you now.
And it's like, if it was like, you can imagine it being like like if it was accidental. Like, at what point in the process of defending himself does he realize that they were in fact on, but is now like too deep in it to be like,
yeah.
My understanding of a game, if you have the mods on when you're done, is you go and you look, and then you can see that they're on. Like,
and people will say that, okay, well, this translates into, hey, any PR is good PR, even bad PR is good PR. And I'm like, in a way, I know who this person is, but I was never interested in watching Minecraft speedruns before. I still am not interested in watching them at all. I wasn't watching this person's channel, and I'm still not going to watch this person's channel. It's like, so what have you accomplished? What you've done is established your name as a household word in the gaming news community as someone who cheats. That's what people will take away from this in the long run.
That if they can't, like, I feel like the whole thing of like trying to pretend that maybe the mods accidentally got put on was so that he can't get stricken from the speedrunning community completely. But because if that's your career path, well,
I mean, obviously
found the speed run to turning it off, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, obviously if he wants to do a speed run in the future, there'll have to be very extensive verifications, of like probably like a screen recording of him like installing the game on a on a fresh thing.
Yeah. And then not like, you can't cut camera. You have to show him, it's like, I'm setting up my computer from scratch.
From
and everything.
Yeah.
do it.
Yeah.
And then bundling it up and mailing the everything that was.
This is my 22-hour speed run where I basically build a computer from scratch and then format it and install everything, and you can see me doing everything. And I've got 3 people in the room who are watching me, and one of them's a cop. Like,
and the yeah. But my favorite thing about his about his statement is he's saying that he was 99% sure it wasn't on during the runs, which by itself obviously is funny because clearly it was on, but also 99% sure, which means 1% not sure, 1 in 100, which is
still better odds.
Way better odds than the 1 in 10 trillion chance of him actually doing.
Yeah, like the moment he did it. He should have been like, "Oh, hang on, no, hang on." There's that should have given rise to a lot more than a 1% doubt at that point, to be like, "Oh, the chances of me being able to do this are really slim. Maybe I screwed up."
And it's because actually, in the people it's posted in this article, and also people have linked to a great video by Matt Parker, who's a mathematician, who is not part of the Minecraft community at all, but just people asked him to look at this just from a maths perspective,
right?
From the probabilities and stuff, and he has a really great video about it. But the other thing he talks about in the video is other very unlikely things that have happened that are verified, and one of them is a perfect bridge hand or a perfect bridge thing where it's I forget what the actual things are, but it's everyone has to have the right cards, right? So, and it's incredibly unlikely to have happened, but it has happened. It's been recorded as having happened on a couple of occasions, and it's in the newspaper, and more often than you would think too, more often than the probability of it happening would indicate. But one of the things he talks about is that the probability of it happening is so low that the probability of the person not shuffling properly is a lot higher than the probability of this happening just randomly, right? So if you have a new deck of cards, the chances of you doing the kind of a shuffle that would actually inadvertently basically stack the deck into the way it's supposed to be is actually more likely than just a random occurrence. So it's kind of probability is weird that way, where it's if the probability of something occurring is so incredibly low, but it does happen, you have to start looking at other what are the other circumstances more around this thing. Anyway, Nintendo has
won a lawsuit.
Yeah, has won a lawsuit. So yay for them, I guess. Haha, screw that little guy. Yeah, good job, Nintendo. Well, so Nintendo.
Do you guys remember ROMUniverse.com?
If you do, you're part of this lawsuit now.
Yeah. You may be entitled to a cash settlement. No.
No, you may be entitled to pay Nintendo a cash settlement.
Yes.
Yeah, very, very big ROM website, ROM Universe. And was apparently taking in somewhere in the realm of $30,000 to $36,000 a year. Combination of advertising and premium subscriptions, which I guess allowed people to download more ROMs.
Yeah, or faster or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
And
I can't imagine paying a subscription service to a ROM site. That's weird to me, but someone must have done it.
Well, I mean, I couldn't, because when I'm thinking about like the NES days, I'm like, NES ROMs are like 16 kilobytes or whatever. They're tiny. It's like, I don't need to have premium access. Like, I download those, like, you can bundle those into a TCP packet practically these days. But like when it comes to multi-gigabyte Nintendo Switch ROMs, maybe having faster access is better.
That's probably not legal.
But Nintendo got mad, didn't they, Paul?
Yes. I mean, we all know Nintendo can be a little bit persnickety about these things, shall we say?
Yes.
They are a little sensitive.
I can't imagine Sony or Xbox wouldn't have been mad about their latest games being on a ROM website.
No, well, I mean, yeah, I guess it's what it is that, of course, Sony and Microsoft never had ROMs, right? Like, it was all like CDs and stuff, even at the start, right?
Yeah.
So I feel like because there were like Nintendo ROMs that were so small that the like sharing community really got into gear back in the day. So like Nintendo stuff has always been like the more prevalent things for people to be sharing around. Anyway,
and also the one that maintains the longest too, because it's like Sega at some point has a cutoff.
Sure, I see the stance all the time where people are like, Nintendo doesn't like people to have fun. They keep taking down their fan projects. And I'm like, if you're selling their games and the other companies saw this too, they would also probably do something similar in this regard. In this very case.
Yeah, this could not be, I don't think this could be considered like a fan project.
Yeah.
This is literally just distributing things. I mean, one could, there's that argument about it being like abandonware. If it's not, if the ROMs aren't available in other places, I doubt that was. So anyway, unlike a lot of people who faced in this kind of thing, the owner of this place actually tried to defend himself rather than just being like, all right, it's a fair cop, I'm out. This person actually did attempt to defend himself. Unfortunately, he attempted to defend himself, as in with no lawyer.
Oh, okay. I read that Ars Technica article several times, and I was like, it doesn't say anything about his lawyer or his legal team.
That's not a good idea.
But I can't tell whether or not he actually has a lawyer or not. But we know for sure that he did not have his own legal team.
I double check that, but I'm pretty sure he defended himself. Yeah.
Neat.
Because
he had some interesting ideas.
Yeah, he started throwing around things that should not have been. So, for instance, he first tried to do the safe harbor thing, which the DMCA thing, where like YouTube isn't liable for copyright material put up on YouTube because they take things down when there's a DMCA notice. That doesn't, and so that was his argument. But of course, that doesn't work because he was the one putting them up on his site. It wasn't like, well, fans just put stuff up and I have no part of. Like, he was actually the one who uploaded the ROM files.
I mean, and that was the funniest bit when he was like, his initial defense was he said he didn't upload any of the ROMs, and then when Nintendo had him at a deposition and asked, he's like, oh yeah, I uploaded the ROMs. It's like, what are you doing?
This is why you have a lawyer, though. Like, if he had talked to a lawyer and said, this is what's happening, they would have been like, here are defenses that might work, or here's things we can try.
And to be,
but honestly, let's not go to court.
Yeah. Like, to be fair, he was making $30,000 to $35,000 or $36,000 a year off of this site. That was his whole income. Like, he is now on welfare. Because this revenue stream has closed off for him. And so in a way I'm kind of like, yeah, I don't like hearing when people who already weren't like making a ton of money are now making no money, that I'm kind of like, oh, that's I do feel sad. Like, I do feel like I pity that situation. I'm like, that is very much too bad.
To me, that's even more of a reason to not go to court.
Yeah, and I was like, I get maybe you couldn't afford a great legal team because of that, and you thought, I'll just do it myself. Maybe that was what ran through your head or something. But I'm like, I don't know. Like, this seems like a very bad. And what were you going to do? Like, even once you came out the other side of this, if you won this,
like this
what
would
have happened to you?
And this
like,
would have
you
been
couldn't
like
open your site back up.
This would have been like a ridiculous precedent if he had actually won this.
Yeah.
So he tried to do the MC. He also tried to get on the first sale doctrine thing, which is something that people like Netflix and big companies have actually sort of messed around with, but it never really works that well. Which is basically the idea that if you buy a copy of a game, you're allowed to then rent or sell that to other people.
Yeah.
And so there's been services where, like when Netflix had the DVD business, they didn't need permission from why their DVD business always had way more titles than their streaming business was that they didn't need permission from companies. They would just, just like a video store, they have 30 copies of this DVD and they can just send it out to people. You don't need permission to do that. This doesn't work because he didn't like buy the games in the first place, and two, he wasn't like doing physical copies or like limited number. He was just allowing people to download them.
Yeah, if he'd done like a website where he was like, "Hey, you can rent my copy of Fire Emblem 3 Heroes, and I'll mail it to you."
Oh, Netflix still has a DVD business. Sorry, the DVD thing never happened in Canada, so.
Yeah, that's true.
But that is, it's interesting, right? Because if it was like he just had a game rental situation where he's like, I'm going to just send this thing out to somebody, or we'll put the ROM on the blockchain, and then that way, we'll know who's currently got it out, and then we'll return it back, and do whatever the hell it is you're going to do to kind of.
I feel like they would
theoretically.
Libraries have
libraries
that kind
exactly.
of idea.
Yeah, libraries do that. Do have
when you try to rent. Yeah, when you try to rent a book, I mean, it's borrow a book from a library, right? But it was essentially kind of a rental situation. But when you borrow an ebook from a library, they will have copies of that book that they've licenses for copies of that book, where it's like, we purchased 5 copies of this book, and the system has access to it, the entire like library system. So that might encompass an entire geographical area that's much larger than just a single city. And therefore, they can lend out all 5 copies of that book. And if you try to borrow another one, it's like, I'm sorry, that book is out, because that works within the current legal setup for how a library works in the first place. It's like, we have to limit the number of ebooks, because if we just let unlimited people borrow it, the publisher's going to come after our asses. And we don't want that to happen.
Sure.
That's
No,
going to be a thing.
I get that. I'm not sure how a person on their own would set up a thing like that and legally it would be seen as okay.
It's a tricky one. You need to, like libraries have there's a whole infrastructure of servers that check books in and out and stuff. And the thing that really pisses me off with the library setups is that they often have a thing where the digital file wears out at the same rate as a physical book would, because they're still stuck in the old system anyway.
Because publishers need to make money off the publishing of books, and they're like, well, we need to see that you buy new copies of a book that is popular, and it's so
you can only you can only actually borrow it 1,000 times, and then they have to buy a new one.
It's kind of disgusting.
That's always been a thing I've hated, because it negates the idea of it's a digital copy.
It's just
you're never going to get that book returned with a piece of gum in it.
Yeah. Let's take all the bad stuff about physical stuff and translate it into the digital world.
Yeah.
Anyway, so anyway, this person was unsuccessful with his thing, and the trick with cases like this is, of course, the amount of the infringement is ridiculous, right? It's like because it's like a certain amount of money per ROM, and there's thousands of ROMs on the site. So it's it's like it started out at $4.4 million, and then the judge lowered it to $1.7 million. So $35,000 per work. Obviously, that's not going to be acquired by Nintendo, which everyone knows that's not the point. The point is to establish like a precedent for that this is, to lock this in as like a legal thing, and to scare other people who might want to be distributing ROMs.
There was a great comment in the Ars Technica article, actually. If you go read it, at the bottom they promoted a comment from Corporate Goon, I think their name was, that they said, look, this is what's known as being judgment proof. Like, that's what this case is. They know they can't get money from a guy who's making $800 a month and is on welfare. They know that going into it. So Nintendo knows they're not going to make any money off this, and the guy knows that he's not going to have to pay this back. But
I mean, it's still gonna wreck a lot for him.
Yeah, it's like, you came on the other. If he won a bunch of money in like a lottery or something, I imagine Nintendo would be like, okay, but hang on, you actually technically owe us this cash. But in this case, it is largely about establishing precedent and making it easier for Nintendo to go after other ROM dealers at that point. And frankly, I mean, as somebody who used to do a lot of emulation a long time ago, and it was hard to find, and I don't do it anymore because it's all those things that I keep talking about where it's like, I just can't be bothered to do some of this stuff anymore. And frankly, I mean, Nintendo Switch Online exists and has the virtual Nintendo as a virtual Super Nintendo. And so if I wanted to play a game, it's like good. I mean, they have to stand up for their ROMs, because otherwise, why would people be excited about being able to play Spanky's Quest or all the other great hits from Culture Brain and Jalico and Data East and games like Super Brawl Brothers Street motherfuckers? Like
that was European only release, that one.
The worst games keep coming to this because no other company is saying, "Oh, we're gonna put Mega Man." It's like, no, they're not gonna put Mega Man. They gotta sell Mega Man. It's all the companies that made shit that nobody liked is coming to Nintendo Switch Online at this point.
24 of the best games and Balloon Fight.
Yeah. All right. Well, moving on. Speaking of things that you could potentially win, or I guess we can find out who will win E3 for once, legitimately, I suppose. E3 is going to end with an all-new awards show for some reason.
I love this, so because of course this is E3, so the games aren't like out.
No.
So I there's nothing like a industry like hype show then ending with an award for what game has the most hype.
Yeah,
and who's making that
like,
decision?
That's the things are most anticipated. Like the categories are like most anticipated, whatever, and it's like, if a game didn't win, doesn't that just mean that E3 didn't show enough of their footage?
Yeah, I have a question. Couldn't they just have the awards before E3? Because that's literally like, I'll tell you right now, if I put Metroid Prime 4 on that list, that's going to win most anticipated game from a huge contingent of people, even if Nintendo doesn't announce it at E3.
But the way it's supposed to work, based on what I read in the article, is all the games that get shown over the course of E3, which I think is like 4 days, are essentially nominations for these categories. And then all of the, it's like IGN and a bunch of news outlets are the ones who are going to be like, these are the people who won. And I'm like, so on top of having to have a bunch of people constantly watching everything to try and put everything up as like, here's stuff that got announced at E3, are you also making them watch the chat to see which games they think are most anticipated on top of that? Because that sounds like awful.
You know, in Mario Party, when you finish the game and there's like, and then here's the bonus stars. Here's the star for the person who got the most stars.
Yeah.
It's like, yay! Wait, there's like the win. This is like a Winmore award, right? It's like, here's the award for the people who are going to be doing well anyway.
Does it then benefit the companies that their show gets leaked just beforehand, so that when they do show off the thing that is most anticipated, people can be like, it happened and now we are very happy, and then the shows that have the stuff that didn't show up that they thought might happen and they're really mad about doesn't count at all. Like,
or do people I'll use Metroid Prime 4 as an example again. Let's say Nintendo doesn't mention Metroid Prime 4 at all this E3. Let's say it's still like another 8 months out or whatever, so they're not going to bring it up. And everyone's in the chat starts screaming about where's Metroid Prime 4, and then IGN is like, I guess that's technically the most anticipated game because everyone was talking about it.
Yeah, most anticipated game that wasn't mentioned in
that
E3.
vein.
Yeah.
Should be a category.
Because I don't think this will happen. Because I really do think they're gonna at least talk about Breath of the Wild 2 properly this time. But if they showed up again and they said, "We're really sorry, we can't tell you about Breath of the Wild 2 yet," does that suddenly become like they mentioned it on the stage?
Right. And this is these aren't actually public too. Like this is so it's not like the most. It's not like people are going to be voting for them. It's just what the editors of, IGN, GameSpot, PC Gamer, Game Radar feel the general mood of the crowd is, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or the mood of their audience is.
Or the mood of their office is what it's going to be.
There are some good points to this, though.
It could be like...
for one thing, it's just the awards this time. So it's not like the video game awards where there's 3 hours of other stuff where you're just like, I don't know what's going on, but I hope something exciting happens.
Because all the trailers happened earlier in the week.
Yeah.
Right, that's true.
They're already done. They're not going to show them again. They literally said, we're not making new announcements about games during our awards.
Yeah.
So the Game Awards are so dull. They're so boring.
Yeah.
And they're always way longer than I ever remember.
Yeah.
And I don't know why I watched it 2 years in a row.
Yeah, like a Game Awards could literally just be like a website that says what all the awards are. Like, there's nothing to show.
Paul, they announced some awards in the pre-show before the actual awards show, which still doesn't make sense to me. And there was this one time there was this thing that happened in the middle, and I'm like, is this a joke award? Because it was like best viral tweet or something, but I couldn't tell you which one of the tweets that flashed across the screen was the winner, or why that was even a category.
I love Izandai's take on that. They hope that Nintendo's presentation starts with Eiji Aonuma saying, I can't tell you anything about Breath of the Wild 2 yet, but I'll have information for you later in the year. And at the end of Nintendo presentation, he's like, okay, I didn't say much later in the year. Here's the presentation.
Oh, God. It wouldn't be worth the fan backlash, but I would like that.
That would be so funny.
That would be
I don't think there'd be if you did it right then. I don't think there'd be that much backlash. I think you could.
People would be mad in chat for the first 10 minutes or whatever.
In chat, that would be all over Twitter.
Yeah, be like, they're not showing it. Oh my God, they
it'd be like a dozen articles within seconds. It would be awful, and then when they do announce it, people would be happy, but then there would be the aftermath because there's that cool down period after.
I was already in the middle of drinking bleach because he said that. It's like, fuck. Settle down.
To go that far.
And then somehow it was Nintendo's fault for making them write their hot takes out too early.
Yeah. I mean, so as I wrote about the award show thing, it's like, because E3, and Polygon says that this is where I got this from, is that E3 had to backpedal after the initial tweet because they're like, the broadcast would be packed with exciting announcements and reveals. And they were like, wait, no, the broadcast is the entire E3 event. That's what we meant by broadcast.
We'll have the reveals and the exciting announcements. And the award show will not.
Well, the assumption is that, because they meant the whole broadcast and not the awards, is that we're assuming the awards will just be this very straightforward affair and not, the 3-hour cavalcade of the finest world exclusive game trailers money could buy, interspersed with glad-handing backslapping and the token indie darling in the Game of the Year category that's not actually going to win, because if you're an indie, it's just an honor to be nominated, right? So, yeah, I actually...
Celeste should have won that year.
As I wrote, I hope it's dull. I hope that they spend 38 minutes, just with random applause from audiences and stuff in a very Monty Python style. Just here's the award, who got nominated, this person wins, Siri reads out the winner, and we just kind of move through everybody real fast.
Oh, no, wait, it was Hades. Hades should have won.
Yeah, Hades should have won. Celeste was definitely a contender, I think, but Hades should have won.
Yeah, I can see why, but
Celeste is
Hades should have won.
Yeah,
that was a couple years ago, yeah.
Celeste would have been a couple years ago, but yeah.
Yeah, no,
but they were in that category, and I was like, that was a contender. I could see them winning, but
we looked up when indie titles started hitting the Game of the Year category.
I gotta get all my shit in here, so everything that I wrote, I had to kind of spew out there at the end.
But the trick here is that This is not Game of the Year. This is most anticipated Game of the Year.
Yeah,
which is a lot different.
I could see them doing a thing where it's like
Cyberpunk was one of the most anticipated games of the year,
right? There have been a lot of dictators and assholes who have been Times Man of the Year or Person of the Year. I guess is what they're going for now.
I guess E3 there'd also be games that might come out in like 2024 or whatever that they might just be announcing for the first time.
Yeah.
Oh, at least we won't have to have that thing where we have a bunch of people come out to tell us about the Marvel Ultimate game and watch the crowd constantly ask for a character that's not in the game,
right?
And them have to ignore an entire crowd of people. At least that won't be a thing.
I
feel
definitely
bad for them.
I definitely think that like this is largely going to be the Academy Awards, where a movie that is about the filmmaking industry wins Best Picture or Best Director or whatever. That's largely going to be like we are seeing the tail eat itself. Yeah,
this is the story of one game journalist desperate, striving for.
It feels like it's going to be, this is a press event that is giving itself awards by other people who are at the press event, who are journalists themselves. And I'm like,
it's E3 having to try to do something new. In last year, they couldn't do anything. This year, they have to be all digital. And prior to them becoming an all digital event for this year, the last thing we heard was leaked plans about entertainment hubs and getting YouTube influencers to show up, which they clearly can't do this year.
Yep.
And I'm still waiting for their first physical year back to see if they actually think they should do that or not.
Yeah, with appearances by Chris and Chris Del Chris. Maybe Chad will show up.
All right. Well, speaking of things that people shouldn't do, the Super Mario Brothers movie, the one with Bob Hoskins and John Leguizamo, there's been a fan release, previously unseen minutes.
All in the same
somehow
20-minute block?
Was found on like a VHS tape. That
a producer had.
Yeah, it was like an earlier cut that somehow didn't make it into the final cut.
Which, you know what that means is we're gonna get the despecialized experience where someone's going to take like the Blu-ray of the Super Mario Brothers movie, and then they're going to intersperse the VHS scenes into it, so we can get like here's what it looks like at the best.
That is currently available on archive.org.
Ah, so it's not a BitTorrent thing either. We can just have it.
Is there anything actually that revealing? And like, if this isn't just a chunk of 20 minutes somewhere extra in the middle where we see Yoshi fly off into the volcano or whatever happens in this movie, because I've never seen it. Is it just like an extra 30 seconds of dead air at the end of every scene? Like,
no. There's whole new stuff. Yeah.
I'm afraid of the fact that Peach just left the room in a rush, like excited after I said I didn't see this movie.
There's it expands on the backstory of some of the characters. Apparently there's a subplot where the Mario brothers have a rivalry with another plumbing company in Brooklyn that was completely cut.
They didn't just take some stuff out of the Super Mario Brothers show? That might improve this movie from what I've heard.
Just Bob Hoskins just randomly turns into Captain Lou Albino. And there's also a thing of King Koopa murdering an underling by devolving him into slime.
Oh, right. I've seen the pictures of the Goombas from this movie. Those are odd.
You get to see Iggy and Spike doing a rap about overthrowing King Koopa. They cut out a whole rap song. Oh man.
So if
this is
we
what
go
they
by
cut
the
out,
idea
what they left
that-
in must be pure gold.
If the idea is that the stuff that you cut out makes the movie flow better because story reasons, or makes it just that bit tighter because you don't want the audience to fall asleep or whatever, although this movie was like made in the 80s, before they understood that people will sit in a movie theater for like 4 hours straight to watch the Titanic for some reason, several times in a row.
There were long movies back in the day.
These parts can't be that good, right?
I mean, no, but maybe they're. I don't know. I saw the movie. I saw it in theaters when I was a kid. That is the only time I've seen it. I have very, very vague memories of it, and of being like disappointed, but disappointed in the way that like a kid is disappointed in a movie like that, which isn't like this movie made no sense.
Oh, okay, that's not as bad as I thought it was going to be.
Ooh.
I thought you were gonna pull out some sort of like mystical VHS tape that I've never seen before.
But there's activities in it on how to make your own makeup.
The thing I remember about seeing this as a kid was being disappointed in it, but being disappointed in the sense that like, oh man, they got so much stuff wrong. The Mario Brothers don't jump like that. They missed this stuff rather than the reality, which is the actual like story and characters, and everything is terrible. But being a kid, like being into the video game, being like focused on, it's like, but where were the mushroom things or whatever?
Yeah,
the
don't
Goombas
they eat
didn't
mushrooms
look
to
right.
get giants?
Well, I mean,
The
I've heard
Goombas
Beach
didn't look
go on and on about stuff in the Wizard that is weird and doesn't make sense, and whatever there, and like, okay, well, I mean, there is kind of a precedent that most video game movies up to a certain point are not generally great.
I mean, The Wizard isn't really a video game movie. It's just a movie about playing video games. But
yeah, but it gets thrown into that category for that time period. We didn't really start hitting video game movies until, like, as a more current concept that they can be good and profitable.
Yeah,
there's a lot of like weird stuff in the movie too, because of
that's what
stills and stuff.
That's what Goombas look like.
Yeah, sorry.
I don't understand.
Giant with tiny little heads, and
I don't understand why
then
you would make a Goomba look like
Dennis
that.
Hopper turning into the lizard, turning into King Koopa properly.
Yeah.
But there's stuff that's in this thing that never showed up in the movie apparently, and now that I'm hearing that there's 20 unreleased minutes of footage, I'm like,
yeah, and most
some of it probably ended up in that magazine and never got made into the actual.
Most of it is King Koopa killing a minion and a rap between two other minions. At least that's all I've been told about.
Oh yeah, the rap is right here. If you would like the lyrics, it's.
Oh, what?
What?
They posted the lyrics of the rap, and then the rap wasn't in the movie? Oh, that would have been terribly disappointing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Party Koopa.
It's...
Look at these Goombas shutting us down. The rule of force is the rule of this clan. What?
Yeah.
Why?
You have such flow.
As a note, speaking of Dennis Hopper, there is also a massively extended cut of Waterworld that has like an hour. That's like an hour longer.
Why? Holy shit!
And it's actually like good. I actually really enjoyed it. It makes a lot of things make way more sense in that movie, and be like, because of course the stuff that they cut out is all the actual like character stuff, because all the special effects cost so much money in that movie. So you get to actually like see what Dennis Hopper's like him actually like caring for the people on the shit, like his actual like, he's not just Snidely Whiplash,
a warlord or something.
He actually has like a motivation and stuff.
Why is there a monkey?
Oh, because
it's
de-evolution
available online somewhere. The Waterworld. I forget what it's called. Somebody would probably be able to do it's like the something cut of Waterworld. Again, people put it together. Anyway, let's jump on now to zombie mode in Watch Dogs Legion because we found a game that didn't previously have a zombie mode, so that had to be fixed.
Good job.
Yeah. So the zombie mode, which is called Watch Dogs Legion of the Dead, is
just in case you weren't sure that they were dead.
Yeah. So the weird thing about this is that Watch Dogs Legion is the idea is that like anybody can be part of DedSec, which is the like hacker thing, right? And so you can like make your group out of all sorts of different, like you can have, kids or old lady or random, like you can have all sorts of random people as part of your group. You can recruit like literally anybody in the world, which is a really neat idea. Apparently it's better in theory than in practice, but I haven't actually played it. But the thing I liked about this this description or the thing is that they've so it's a game it's a multi Watch Dogs Legion was a multi-platform release. Watch Dogs Legion of the Dead is currently in alpha phase, available only on PC. We want to iterate on and improve the mode with you. You can expect frequent updates and developer insights and constant conversation with our players. Once we get it to the point where people are having fun, then we'll release it on the console.
Ubisoft. What if we had everybody else play the game for us? So we can find
PC gamers are basically just our beta testers.
It's like, can you please just tell me whether or not this game is any good? Can you please just keep playing it, and until you figure out if it's good or not, we'll just keep making changes to it?
Like, okay, it's fair. Obviously, they can iterate patches a lot faster on PC because you don't have to go through the certification process. So that makes it makes sense, right? But just the way it's like, to make this possible, you need to deploy patches fast. We have full control over the PC via Ubisoft Connect. So once basically they're saying like when it gets out of the alpha and into beta, then we'll start bringing in the console players, once it's not broken.
Hang on. Isn't adding a Battle Royale mode to a game that doesn't need a Battle Royale mode literally an episode of Mythic Quest we just watched?
Yeah, that was an episode of Mythic Quest that we watched.
Isn't Mythic Quest funded largely by Ubisoft?
It is.
Is Ubisoft just giving away their entire next few years of...
Maybe. I mean, I assume that Ubisoft will add this mode and listen to its fans because they're so great at feedback, just like when they totally listened to all the people who were being harassed at their company and did something about it.
Yeah.
They did do something about that, right?
Let's not forget that happened. You're right. We should not forget
you're
that
right.
happened.
They decided they didn't need to make changes. I remember now.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, they brought in an outside firm, and the firm decided that they were fine.
Yeah, this sounds about right.
And
Mythic Quest is actually kind of horrifying to watch sometimes because you're just like, I don't know how any of these people remain not fired.
I've heard it's super good though.
It's a hard watch.
Oh,
Paul.
it's good.
It's a really
it's
funny,
hard to watch sometimes.
but it's a hard watch.
Like some
and
of
I'm
the
not even in the industry.
relationships you're watching are just very emotionally abusive.
Yeah.
In terms of what those characters are going through.
And it still manages to be funny, which is real tough because it's like, oh, you guys are skirting a hard line here. I would give up on you really. Like first few episodes, it was like I was having a good enough time when you saw people get their comeuppance, but I was also like watching people have to go through the shitty whatevers. It's like
their bottle episodes though have been really good and like interesting.
That's fair.
Yeah, that's tough. My tolerance for that kind of stuff is relatively low, so I don't know. But, there's no good segue into this because there's a chicken nugget that just sold for almost $100,000.
Oh, that's disappointing. It didn't quite make it, eh?
Nope. $3 off. 900. It closed this morning. So this article is about that people bought there's a chicken nugget shaped like one of the guys from Among Us on sale on eBay, and this article said it was going for $34,000. But it is closed this morning at $99,997.
Yep.
Who's the winning bidder? Because sometimes they'll actually have like a.
It's like start out.
Okay, it's complete. They're all like sometimes it's like they all start out, but you can kind of tell from the.
The winning bidder is 3 *** G.
I enjoy their picture of several Szechuan sauce packs.
Okay, well, if you're gonna meme, you're gonna meme hard, I guess. But it's from the BTS nuggets and fries meal, I guess is the thing. They put it in an IKEA Ziploc bag, which is interesting too.
It's not even like it. It's like a nugget with little legs, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No
well,
arms.
I mean, if you were to describe a character from Among Us, Paul, it would be like a little
ambulatory bean.
Well, I mean, you would be like bean shaped with 2 little legs, right?
Yeah. And it is unusual because like nuggets obviously aren't like pieces of chicken, like they're formed into the different shapes. So the idea of a nugget that isn't one of those that got like malformed or whatever is unusual, I guess.
There's because McDonald's meals only have 4 nugget shapes.
Yeah,
and each of them have a name.
Remember when there used to be a thing that was like, oh, look at this thing that these people sold, this like piece of toast with a picture of Jesus on it. And I'm pretty sure those things never got up to $100,000.
So even food where people are like, oh, we collect cereal because we keep the cereal box, but we keep the cereal contained, weirds me out. Just because it's like food gets old or stale or moldy, eventually like bad things happen to it.
Sure,
that should not be a collectible thing.
It's
in my brain. But I'm also kind of like, at this point now, Among Us, I know they don't do a lot of costume stuff because they do hats, but clearly they need a chicken nugget costume.
Yeah,
I do appreciate that in the description of the thing it says, do note, this food product has an expiration of 14 days. It will be delivered prior to expiration. It will also be frozen to ensure freshness with secure shipping.
You know what? I hope some weird YouTuber has bought this thing and they're just going to eat it for a video.
Conditioned, classified as used.
Yeah, someone's gonna send this to Steve 1989 and be like, "Here, this is preserved."
How do you use a chicken nugget while not eating it?
I guess if it's been handled by human hands, it's like it's almost made it to your mouth, and someone's like, "Wait, that nugget is sus," and you're like, "Oh my god, emergency meeting! Throw it in a fucking bag!" And there we go.
Because they always show up in like little boxes, right? Like a person has handled food.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I guess that's true too.
They don't give you chicken nuggets sealed in IKEA bags normally. That's somebody else putting that into an IKEA bag.
Anyway,
maybe
so obviously this is mostly silly, but you know, it is what it is. Some people collect weird things. Some people have, you know,
just
more
don't
money
understand why food has to be a thing that people collect.
I assumed that when they said it was from a BTS meal, I thought it was literally the leftovers from a meal that BTS was eating in McDonald's.
No,
that's what I thought it meant.
It doesn't even have that amount of cachet to it. Yeah.
No.
So we talked a little a couple weeks ago about Hitman doing the 7 Deadly Sins thing,
right?
Which and the Pride one happened to. It started in May, but it is continuing into like mid-June, which is not a great look because it's like the sin of Pride during Pride Week. We found a worse thing, a worse Pride take.
Good.
So Injustice 2 is celebrating Pride by they're doing a special event where you that involving Harley Quinn and Poison Ivy.
Okay. All right. That seems okay so far.
We're okay now because they are in some iterations are a couple, which is nice.
A very cute couple.
However, the thing is that you in this thing, Poison Ivy's like attacking, like the bad, like it's an event where Poison Ivy is attacking and you have to beat her up. Basically, the article here is the article here is, and the thing is like, can you beat up Poison Ivy 400,000 times as a community?
We decided a queer character should be added in the villains team that you end up having to go beat up
400,000 times as a community. Can we all get together and...
Whoa, no, that's just asking everybody it has a... Oh no, this is worse.
To be clear, the reason why I'm laughing is solely to do with Paul's delivery. You were trying to find any way you could to not say you have to kick the shit out of Poison Ivy to celebrate Pride. You were trying so hard, and when you finally got there, you're like, yeah, I give up. You beat her up. That's what you do. You punch a lesbian. That's what you do in this game to celebrate Pride.
Bisexual.
Come on, just add rainbow flags.
Canonically, I believe.
That's true. Canonically, I think she's bi. That's right.
So yeah, I mean, apart, like, this is obviously, they do these events all the time, and I do like the ridiculousness of these like community events where it's like, you have to do this thing a certain number of times as a community, and it's just like defeat Poison Ivy 400,000 times. And it's like, holy crap. She's just gonna be tired after a while. Like, why did she come back after the 150,000th time?
Well, apparently they apologized according to a follow-up article that Americat has just posted.
Oh yeah, they posted their apology in like one of those Warner Brothers. Hey, the depictions of this are not to be, that was the way things were back then. That kind of plate.
And can everybody guess what their apology, the last line of their apology?
Oh, I believe it is.
Say it with me. We are committed to listening and doing better.
I hope that came across in sync.
Anyway. So so you can see like the problem with this is they like you can see the mentality, right? It's like, we want to do a special thing for Pride Month. We'll add, we'll put this character in and have a thing with like Harley Quinn and Poison Ivy. But the problem is, of course, within the context of the game, the only real interaction is fighting, right? Yeah. So it's like, that's what there has to be. Like, that's what the event is. And so it's just like,
because there's no, I guess if it was like a story event where you played as either Harley Quinn on the Harley Quinn side or as the Poison Ivy side, and they had to like fight each other as part of like a story,
or they together fight somebody.
Yeah, and you played as them doing that. That could be an option too. But it's like, if you had two teams against each other and they were both part of this couple, but they were fighting for some reason, this is how we're doing it, then I could kind of buy making a larger story beat around it and having a reconciliation or something.
Is this a game where you get to play as specific characters, or is this just you're playing as yourself? Because I don't know anything about this.
Yeah, I don't know how.
Game, because I'm just like,
is it heroes versus villains?
Why, if you have a hero team that can go do the beating up, maybe add in some LGBT heroes. Yeah. Maybe some trans ones for once.
Oh, I guess, yeah, I haven't played this either. I believe it's actually like, it's not like Harley Quinn is on your team. There's like Harley Quinn tokens, which are some sort of in-game currency thing. Anyway.
Yeah. I don't know.
So it's very tone deaf.
The video game industry is already kind of just effed up in so many ways, and they are not good at Pride.
I continue to feel very
both of the LGBT
try once a year.
Both of the LGBT
they only try once a year, and they're real bad at it.
Having pride, like, just in general, feeling good about yourself.
Yeah, I continue to feel that it's like every time a brand or a company or anybody making something, whenever they do a massive fuck up like this, that it's weirdly refreshing, like in a Schadenfreude kind of way, that it's like there is still some of you are trying so hard to make this work when you should just don't try to make it work. And I'm like, it's really interesting to see that you that a lot of you can still continue to fuck this up every month.
Hard. I think they look at the calendar and they're like, well, it's Pride Month. Let's throw this thing in here that we would normally do. Out.
Yeah.
I like John Oliver had a great thing on Last Week Tonight where he was talking about brands like tweeting things like inappropriately tweeting about like, you know, stuff like, you know, Hooters tweets like, you know, thanks to all our people on 9/11 or something, right? Where it's just like brands feeling like they have to eject themselves in conversations even that they're not part of it, right? And so he had this thing where it's like, now I want all brands to use this hashtag, and it's the idea being that it's like it's a hashtag that is so long that it fills up all of the space in the tweet, so you can't actually put any text.
Oh God!
This was in Injustice 2, by the way, which it's one of these. It's the like fighting thing in the Marvel.
It's a mobile game
in the DC universe where for various reasons all the DC superheroes are fighting each other. Anyway, if you want to feel better about yourself after that, why not get a PS5 t-shirt?
Or feel better that you're not going to pay this much money for a PS5 t-shirt.
Oh, those sunglasses. It's literally a t-shirt that says PS5 in November 2020 on it. So it's a before release t-shirt. This would be when the PS5 released, right?
Right.
How much is this?
It is there's a t-shirt. So this t-shirt currently retailing for $675.
Holy shit.
Is a plain colored t-shirt with PS5 on it and the PlayStation logo. A shirt, by the way, that we have made ourselves twice now.
Well, let's not forget. You can see on the sleeves that it's got the little shapes.
I forgot about that. Yes,
but yes, we did make this shirt ourselves, didn't we?
So you can buy two of these for the cost of an RTX 3080.
For both the 4 PS4s and the 5 PS5s video, we made that shirt like just with like
iron-on.
Yeah, iron-on transfers twice. So more expensive than, I mean, again, this is getting into area where I do not understand, you can get the like Gucci t-shirt that's a plain white t-shirt for $500. This is by Balenciaga.
Yeah.
So this is like their shtick, or this is one of the, they're like this high-end thing, and this is I guess a thing. It's show off your
Fashion Week show.
Show off your thing, your bling or whatever. In
a video game. So they
prove
did this.
that you can have this cool shirt.
Yes, you have quite the drip, as it were.
Except you can't even tell that it's this special shirt.
No.
You'd have to look really closely to even know that they're wearing a special shirt.
I would literally be like, oh, so you like were at some sort of like launch event where they gave away free t-shirts
that were only size 2XL.
Yeah.
Because that's kind of what it looks like. It looks like a freebie t-shirt you give away at an event.
This doesn't even look like a t-shirt that costs like $20. This looks like a t-shirt that is literally free.
Yeah.
Especially with the November 2020 on it. Like it's like, oh, you happen to be at like a big a launch party. That's really cool.
Yeah. Like if you want to spend money on a t-shirt, why not go to lrr.cc/pride and get yourself signed up for a Lure Pride t-shirt, which I am currently just got a message about saying that they're entering production very soon. So we should have reprints of certain sizes for you very, very soon.
Yay.
Thank you for giving me that opportunity.
And for less money, by the way.
Oh, thank goodness. Well, much better purchase you could be making.
For not a lot less money. Still pretty expensive. $450.
Better purchase still.
Yep.
You can get a life-size Slowpoke. It is adorable.
It is. Most of that money goes towards the polyfill, I have a feeling.
Oh, likely.
Yeah.
Life-size plush Slowpoke. Is it in fact a life-size plush Slowpoke, or is it in fact an actual life-size real Slowpoke that just doesn't move?
Well,
Who knows?
It never blinks. Oh man,
Please
how
do
much?
not
How
eat
much
its
is
tail.
this?
It's
45,000 yen. Okay, yeah.
yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, no, like a lot of the larger
40,
Pokemon tend
it's
to be
47
fairly
inches
pricey.
long.
That's 4 feet. Yep.
Yeah, that is just under 4 feet.
Yep. It's God, it's just kind of calming to look at, actually.
Yeah, no, Slowpoke is a very nice Pokemon that you could just be friends with. Sits in the room with you while you play video games, never says anything, but their presence is a comfort.
I love the article on Polygon is, I would take a bullet for this life-size Slowpoke plush. Is the headline of the article. With the the subheadline being, he is my friend.
I feel like I would too, because if I spent that much on a plushie, I would do everything I could to defend destroying it.
Well, you better watch out then, because Slowpoke tails are considered a delicacy and are outlawed.
Oh, right, yes. Wait,
that's from the original game.
Because Shelder bites the tails.
Well, that's how it evolves into Slowking.
Yeah.
Or,
oh god.
Slowbro?
That's what they need to make, is they need to make a, I think it's Slowking.
But Team Rocket cuts off their tails to sell as delicacies.
Jerks?
Yeah, well, I mean,
maybe
they're the bad guys.
I wonder if they'll make an accompanying life-size Shelder that you can clamp onto the tail as like a pillow thing, but you clunk.
Well, that's the thing. It doesn't look like a Shelder when it's actually attached to the tail. It takes on a different shape, which is odd.
That is weird, actually.
There's Slowpoke.
You know, it's not like when Diglett forms a gang to make Dugtrio.
Right.
It's like Shelder attaches and then becomes a different shell.
Oh, that is weird. I don't like that. Oh, they're saying Slowbro it is. All right.
Look, they keep adding Pokemon evolutions to Pokemon, and I can't keep track anymore. And I try.
By making them kiss.
So there you
Pokemon
go.
Pokemon are cute.
If you were going to get a PS5 t-shirt, instead you could get a life-size Slowpoke.
And I wonder which one will sell out first.
I'll tell you which one makes you look cooler.
Yeah, it's true. I would kill to see Pete Davidson walking down the street with no shirt on and a Slowpoke instead of having that PS5 t-shirt and no Slowpoke.
I mean, if you're like, oh, I have to get something that I have to wear, then so like you can't do the Slowpoke plush. I would still say that your better option is to try and find that Metapod pouch to go hang out in.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, that big Metapod pouch.
Yeah, or the Gengar thing that you can stick your head in.
Oh, right.
Yeah, with the big giant tongue that comes out.
Right, and you put your head inside it to take a nap, which is...
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a nap tent. Those things exist. You can get tiny tents to put in your desk so you can stick your head in them, but now this one looks like Gengar.
Yeah.
I learned a lot about nap tents.
I don't know if we should be encouraging people to stick their heads inside animals' mouths to sleep. That seems like a...
Well, Gengar is a ghost, so it can't hurt you.
It literally has moves that do damage.
I don't know if that's true.
Well, let's wrap it up. This has been your ChillPoint this week.
Thanks everybody. Thanks everybody for watching. Yes, this has been the ChillPoint for this week. As I said, no CheckPoint this week, but we'll be back with more checking points next week. Coming up in just a little over an hour is Friday Night Paper Fight, where we're going to be playing Commander Plane Chase with special guest Olivia.
Hey.
So that should be super fun and also very confusing.
Wait, does Gengar know Dream Eater? Maybe you really shouldn't put your head in that. Now that I'm thinking about this.
See what you've done, chat?
We decided not to subject Olivia to Beast Chase. At least not right away.
No.
Oh, but I bet Olivia would be really good at it.
Probably have to write even new cards.
There's some cards you didn't go through.
It's true.
And then on Saturday, Beej is continuing on with the betrayal at Krondor, the ever betraying.
We
Krondor.
We are. I'm gonna say halfway through chapter 4. Yes.
4.
Marked for Death. Escape from the North.
Out of 9.
Yeah, out of 9, which means that, and that was in one session, Paul. We got halfway through it, which means that
the chapters are not equally spaced. Eh?
They're not. Well, also chapter 1 was dicking around in all of Midkenia.
Spend 9 episodes dicking around in chapter 1 when you could have finished it in 10 minutes.
Yeah.
They are definitely differently paced.
Yeah.
Death Stranding did that too. Be like one chapter is like go from the East Coast to the middle of the United States, and then the next chapter is like do this one boss fight. Okay, that's it.
Yeah. So yeah, this more of Betrayal at Krondor, more of probably the second half and therefore conclusion of chapter 4, getting us into chapter 5, which means we're moving along at a fair clip. It feels good.
Yeah, you're doing good.
Yeah.
And then it's more Wonder Song.
Yeah, more pandering to the chat.
Wander Song.
I did that too at the beginning of the last stream. I was like, wait, Wander.
Not Wonder
Ian
Song.
was expecting it to have a U in it, so he was like Wonder Song.
Wunder Song.
Wundersung. And
Underslung.
Yeah.
It is a song. It is a song to sing as you wander, as opposed to a wonderful song.
We just unlocked a dance, and so I showed Ian that you can do funny dances and walk around.
Well,
right.
I mean, that makes it a rhythm game, right?
Have you started with Anyway, Here's Wander Song?
Huh?
You haven't started your stream with Anyway, Here's Wander Song, and just like...
No, I don't make Wonderwall jokes.
It's too bad.
Yu-Gi-Oh! On Is This Your Card? Ben is going to be continuing on with the Yu-Gi-Oh! Virtual card game.
Yeah, he was playing Duel Links last time, but it sounds like there's multiple Yu-Gi-Oh! Games, so I don't know if he's necessarily going to make them all the same or not.
Oh.
So that could be interesting.
And then I guess there's no Can't Draw Horses on Monday.
Yes, that got taken off the schedule. I don't know why exactly.
But it doesn't matter because it's not there, and that's okay.
But then on Monday...
draw your own horses on your own time.
The next episode of Candlekeep Mysteries, Shemshine's Bedtime Rhymes. Shemshine? Yeah, Shemshine's Bedtime Rhymes. And this is with Dale as the DM on this one.
Nice.
And I believe it'll be Andy and Cameron and other people.
So
Andy,
if you could...
Andy and Cameron and Corey and Nelson are the players.
Awesome.
Yeah, so given that Corey's on the Dice Friends and there's no Don't Draw Horses Club, maybe combine the two and try to draw your horses of the characters of while you're watching.
Draw the Candlekeep Mysteries as horses?
The characters as horses.
We want to know their pony sonas.
Yeah, exactly.
And then on Tuesday, we are back to 9 o'clock, followed by more Control on Talking Simulator, which now that they have the cat ears, they're making
unstoppable
progress. From what
I mean, the cat ears are a DLC thing, from my understanding, so
good.
they had to go get those before they went any further.
I love watching. Like I've watched the stream a few times and in chat, and it's like every maybe 10 to 15 minutes, somebody pops into chat and be like, "Do you have cat ears?"
We're doing a lot for that DLC promotion.
And then Resident Evil 6, the best Resident Evil game ever made, according to Ben and Adam.
And even if they've never said it, you know they feel it in their hearts.
So lots of cool stuff coming up. Oh yeah, Lords of Waterdeep. I'm assuming a digital version of that.
I would assume so as well.
I would say that's a safe assumption.
Yeah.
We should look into that and see what's involved in the digital version of Lords of Waterdeep. But that's what we're going to be playing on Wednesday. And actually, speaking of board game stuff, we are also going to be doing the Loading Ready Run tabletop day, digital tabletop day
version
on Saturday, next Saturday.
The 12th.
Yes, the 12th.
It starts at 10, 11?
11, I think.
11 sounds more likely than 10.
Yeah. That should be super.
Got to get
super
people
cool.
to get up.
All right. Thanks everybody for watching. Now let's welcome awesome people to the show. Starting with Croc Group for 40 months.
Cap Cop.
Yeah.
If I recall.
Cap Cop, yes.
Cap Cop.
Yeah, that was last checkpoint.
When I kept saying it, when
I
said
said
Capcom, but I said Cap Cop. Yeah.
What?
I find it a really funny phrase.
That's fine. Bread is best.
Bread is best.
1.
It's true.
For 33 months.
Jar of stuff for 38 months. Bread?
You ever go into the forest and find a jar of stuff?
Yeah, I don't open it.
Yeah, I wouldn't either. It might be something in it.
Rake X for 77 months.
Fuzz Bubbles.
Fuzz.
25 months.
Fuzz.
Are they like fuzzy, like fur or like hair?
I can't touch one. They just pop.
Well, yeah, they pop when you touch them, so it's really hard to tell.
And Load One and Pharaoh Bender 27. Thank you very much for the 500 bits.
The bits.
All right. Thanks everybody for joining us. And we will talk to all y'all later.
Bye.
Bye.